Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about the recently passed Supreme Court Justice named Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or RBG for short. She passed away about a week ago now, and people have been talking about her career, her history, and more specifically, the president has talked about who he's going to replace her with. A lot of debate has been surrounding the replacement that should be coming soon. We're pretty excited about that since Trump gets to pick them and the Republican-controlled Senate will likely pass them soon, but that's besides the point today. Today we're taking a little stroll down memory lane. We're not only going to be talking about the history of the Supreme Court Justice RBG, but also Colin Kaepernick is getting mentioned today. Recently, I came across an interesting quote and story about them. This is a tweet from CNN all the way back in October 2016, so around 4 years ago, almost exactly. Ruth Bader Ginsburg said this about Colin Kaepernick: "I think it's dumb and disrespectful." I think that's a pretty interesting quote coming from a very prominent figure for liberals. I mean, remember, this week they've been celebrating RBG as this sort of superhero. They're acting like someone war hero has fallen. People are marching in the streets. There's been riots. Like, she's this big superhero figure for the left. And apparently she wasn't a big fan of Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick, of course, began his kneeling escapade around this time 4 years ago. And yeah, she said it was dumb and disrespectful. And I have to say, props to Ruth Bader Ginsburg for coming down on Colin Kaepernick. I'm not a big fan either. He, of course, started kneeling at football games back in 2016 when he was sitting on the bench. He wasn't playing anymore because he's not that good. And basically what happened was this football player decided to kneel and then he was let go because he's not that good of a player. And he tried to pretend it was because of racism. He was just not good. And he tried to spin it and say, hey, I got fired because of racism, when really he could be picked up by any of the teams. Right now, he could still be picked up 4 years later if he was a good player, if he knew how to play football, if he was a respectable quarterback who can make passes and score touchdowns. But the truth is, he's just not that good. He's not that talented. And he's done this whole woke career as a spinoff to try and get him more attention after football failed him. And that's why he grew out this hair. As you can see in this picture, this is not what he had as a hairdo for many years. He only grew this out when he started failing at football and sitting on the bench. So he grew out a fro, trying to look like this 60s civil rights activist. And he's done other things in that vein too. He's done black and white commercials for Nike. He's trying to act like he's this woke pro-BLM serious person. And apparently Ruth Bader Ginsburg wasn't on board with him early on. I'm not sure if her opinions on him changed, if there are other quotes about Ruth talking about Colin. I'd love to see them. But for now, we're going to discuss this one. This is, again, a stroll down memory lane, but I think it's interesting and relevant now since both of these characters are still pretty relevant. Not only is Ruth Bader Ginsburg just coming into the news again because of her unfortunate passing, rest in peace. Again, we have nothing against her. We're not here to speak ill of the dead at all. We're talking more about Colin Kaepernick, who's still kicking around, and he always flares back up when the new season starts. He had this little faux training camp earlier this year and last year. He tried to pretend he wanted to play again, but he really doesn't. He just wants to mock the NFL from the sidelines and turn it into this whole, clown show, essentially. Colin Kaepernick is still around. So to talk about him and Ruth, I think is still relevant in the current year. So we've got this quote from the top. Let's go ahead and read on to the article. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, never shy to weigh in on the controversies of the day, said she thinks it's really dumb for San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick and others to refuse to stand for the national anthem. But the 83-year-old justice said she wouldn't lock a person up for doing it. Ginsburg made the comments to Yahoo's Katie Couric while promoting her book, My Own Words. So back 4 years ago, just 4 years ago, she was still kicking around. She was doing interviews, writing books well into her 80s. I think she makes a good point too. Like, we can side with her and say, yeah, it's dumb. They have a right to do it. We're not trying to arrest them. I never said we should arrest anyone, but it is very disrespectful, especially for this country that made these people successful. Colin Kaepernick has become a millionaire here, as have many of those NFL stars who are kneeling. They are accepted wholly and fully, and they're just, not loving the country still. They hate it. They act like it's the worst country ever. And really, it's just weird that they stay here. I mean, they don't have to stay here. They can leave. They can go to other countries. They could even play football in other countries. Canada, Australia, Europe, they all have different football leagues they could try at. But the truth is, because they know America's the best. They just want to crap on it and act like they're too cool for school. And that's what's brought us here. That's why Colin Kaepernick is lashing out, and he was lashing out in 2016. And that's why Ginsburg is calling them out, because even if you disagree with their politics, she can be considered a very far left, very radical person, but she still loves America apparently, and she understands you need to have respect and stand for that pledge and that national anthem. In the interview, Ginsburg steers clear from criticizing presidential candidate Donald Trump, but calls the rhetoric from the election cycle distressing. She updates her health status, her thoughts on Hillary Clinton and Merrick Garland's nomination, and admits to an amazed Couric that she's never seen the famous parody of her on Saturday Night Live. So I believe there is a parody joke version of her played by one of those actresses from the Ghostbusters 2016. So it's not surprising that this actress from a woke movie is on a woke show like SNL playing a woke judge like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Then she talks about her health status here. She was having health problems for like the last 10 years. She had that first bout of pancreatic cancer, I believe 11 years ago now. It was still an issue. She struggled with it. You know, God bless her, but I think there was a point to be made. She could have retired sooner and, you know, enjoyed the later years of her life. But instead, she chose to hold on until the very last minute, even making her last dying breaths political, supposedly. But that's besides the point. Today, we're talking about the anthem, Ginsburg remembrance, and talking about how Colin Kaepernick is still a dum-dum. National anthem protests. Of Kaepernick and others, she says she thinks their actions are dumb and disrespectful. I would have the same answer if you asked me about flag burning. I think it's a terrible thing to do, but I wouldn't lock a person up for doing it. I would point out how ridiculous it seems to me to do such an act. Kaepernick said Tuesday it was disappointing to hear a Supreme Court justice call a protest against injustices and oppression stupid and dumb. I was reading an article and it refers to a white critique of black protests and how they try to delegitimize it by calling it idiotic, dumb, stupid, things of that nature, so they can sidestep the real issue. He told reporters Tuesday, according to the Mercury News. As I was reading that, I saw more and more truth about this has been approached by people in power, and white people in power in particular. So essentially, Kaepernick's calling her racist. He's saying this is wrong, he's disappointed, and this is racist because Ruth Bader Ginsburg is white. You know, forget the fact that she's female, she's also Jewish, she's also progressive and has fought for minorities and woke causes for her many, many year-long career, probably been doing this before Kaepernick was even born. But, you know, if he doesn't go along with her, he's standing by his thing and he's using these stupid lines like, oh, they're calling to protest injustices and oppression. Who's oppressed, Colin? I mean, you're a rich football player who's adopted by a white family. You grew up in privilege. You never worked a real job in your life. You're just this football player turned activist. I mean, you're not oppressed, dude. No one's oppressed. There's no significant injustices out there to worry about. I know you think all cops are racist and you want to act like white people are having some kind of supremacist thoughts or something, but those aren't real issues, dude. Like, no one's getting hurt. You got to talk about actual things that are happening. If you have proof of cops being racist, show us the proof and we'll take care of those cops and put them in jail or something or fire them or whatever. I mean, it depends on the racism. I mean, that's the thing. The bar for racism for these people is so low. I mean, it's sometimes not even worth mentioning. They say this is racist if you look at them the wrong way or you say the wrong thing or you disagree with them. Like Ruth Bader Ginsburg is just basically disagreeing with them and he's calling her racist. In 1989, before Ginsburg joined the court, the Supreme Court held that the conviction of a man named Gregory Lee Johnson for burning the flag was inconsistent with the First Amendment. Of the athletes, Ginsburg said, if they want to be stupid, there's no law that should be preventative. If they want to be arrogant, there's no law that prevents them from that. What I would do is strongly take issue with the point of view that they are expressing when they do that. Ginsburg's words were similar to the comments that the late Justice Antonin Scalia made when he was asked about his vote in favor of Johnson in the flag burning case. If I were king, Scalia told CNN's Piers Morgan in 2012, I would not allow people to go about burning the American flag. However, we have a First Amendment, which says that the right of free speech shall not be abridged. So yeah, I don't think anyone's really arguing this should be illegal or arrested for kneeling or even flag burning or something like that. I mean, it's horrible. I'm not sure what the specifics are on flag burning right now. I know that was the question in this case they talked about from 1989. And yeah, I just don't think anyone's really arguing that. I think they're just trying to go at that because it's Ruth Bader Ginsburg and she's a justice and she talks about the law a lot. But really, the truth is people are just saying it's dumb because they don't have real reasons to protest. They're just putting on a show. These NFL players pretending they're oppressed or something. And really they're not. They're rich. They're spoiled. They're pampered. And that's what happens when you're too spoiled. When you're this spoiled, you actually think any kind of minor infraction is oppression or you're getting hurt or killed killed or something when you're really not. And the other thing to keep in mind is how Black Lives Matter is what inspired this a lot. These BLM cases that they highlight are usually arrests gone wrong that involve bad people, criminals coming at cops with weapons, hurting people on illegal narcotics and stuff like that. Like, these are bad people that are not really good examples. They never have a real example of racism. They never prove racism. They just say, hey, this black person got arrested and hurt. That's racism. You know, just because they're black, if it happens to them, it's racist. That's not true, though. Everyone knows that, you know, black people can be racist. Other people can be racist to whoever, you know, it happens, but it's super rare, especially in the modern era. And the claims that they make about it just don't make sense. Like I said, those arrests gone wrong every time. It's like a criminal reaching for a weapon, trying to hurt people, trying to kill people or steal something. Like, you're talking about drug dealers. They're defending career criminals who have held people hostage and done, you know, sexual deviant acts, like bad things that they're defending. So that's what makes their causes even worse. They say it's because they're trying to stop oppression and injustice and these like weird buzzwords, but we all know it's a bunch of nonsense. And this historical flashback here, this flashback to 2016 is interesting because, you know, it has a lot to do with what's going on now. We're still talking about these issues. RBG is in the news once again. People are all ranting and raving about her. So I thought it was interesting to bring up one of her thoughts about this prominent pro-BLM person and how she feels about kneeling too. The whole kneeling thing is whack. It needs to get over with, like respect the country or get out. You know, these people threaten to move to Canada or something, but I've never seen any of them do it. They always just say that and they act like they hate America so much. It's like, if you don't like this country, you have the means, go live somewhere else, go get a job somewhere else. There's nothing wrong with you moving away. You don't have to stay here and sour it for the rest of us. And the last thing I'll add in, this happened in 2016, another election season. We're in election season now. And the thing you got to think about is, do you really want these liberals in power? They hate the country. They hate us. They want to kneel and call everyone racist and defund the police and take away all this stuff. So it's like, why would we elect them? Why would we vote for people that hate our country? Like, would you want to elect someone that hates football to lead the NFL league? Like, would you want to nominate someone to coach the, say, Washington Wizards team if they hate that team and they're a fan of another team? You know, it doesn't make sense. So I think the same thing is true here. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Also hit that like button to get this video shared. Subscribe if you're new and hit the bell for notifications too. Until next time, have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow.